Yehonatan Yosef ben Yaakov.
And we are live.
All right. Anyone who would like to be part of these experiences of these classes and to have a little extra merit coming their way, or for anyone, you can obviously let us know, and we will mention names. We have various sponsors, and a big shout out to Ashpiza, where we are doing this class right across from the Temple Mount here in the holy city of Jerusalem. And also actually Ben Zion Klatzko is actually teaching right outside this room to one of his groups on the Akiva trip. And also to Torah Anytime, the biggest yeshiva in the world. And one of our sponsors, this person should have Atzlacha Yehonatan Yosef ben Yaakov Ezra. He should have big Atzlacha in what he's doing. And today we're going to be talking about quiet, really getting to a quiet place. So let's start with a little quiet place. Everyone take a deep breath. Nice. Take another deep breath. And close your eyes as you exhale. One more deep breath. Hold your breath. And release. Opening up your eyes. And just notice the quiet place that you got to with 3 breaths. It's underestimated, I think, the power of breath. Our breath really does make a big difference. And most people are breathing unconsciously most of the time. And you can go quite far with just getting conscious with your breathing. And there's so many types of breath that you can be utilizing. For example, the anti-anxiety breath, that's a really important one, and that's the in through the nose, stomach, chest quickly, and then along out through the mouth. Let's try that one. So stomach, chest. I'll show you what stomach, chest looks like. Try it together. Stomach, chest is fast. Slow out. You don't hold the breath. One more. So that tricks your nervous system to go out of the parasympathetic fight and flight emergency mode and puts it into a state of the sympathetic nervous system, which is just relaxed. What? It sounds relaxed. It sounds reversed, but it's... I was told to remember it because everyone gets it confused, including me. I was told the parasympathetic is, think paramedic. But look it up, you got your phone. Oh, good, we got another student coming in. Shalom Aleichem. That seat must have been for you. Come on by. No, this way. Yeah, watch the cables. Anyway, Shalom Aleichem. So, anyway, but there's all kinds of breaths. You can go, you can skip psychedelics and just, meaning you don't have to take any psychedelic. You can just go straight for holotropic breathing if you want, which would be, and a very simple level would be through the mouth, in and out as strong as you can, like this. Like, I do doubles, but simple it would just be. Do that for close to 2 hours, an hour at least, but close to 2 hours, to the point where, after about 45 minutes, your breath is breathing you. And I wouldn't try this alone necessarily, because you can have, you should be somewhat supervised, But what will happen just by doing that, consistently for an hour or an hour and a half, 2 hours, you will move into a fully psychedelic state. And And that's really interesting that you can do that just with breath. Anyway, there's plenty of other breath mechanisms that can take you far, and that's our discussion today, and our discussion is about the wilderness. There's an experience with wilderness that has the awe-inspiring mountains, but there's also an experience of the wilderness that gets very horizontal. So deserts are generally horizontal, and oceans are extremely horizontal. They outdo the desert for horizontal. But there's also deserts with giant mountains, the Sinai deserts, giant mountains. Joshua Tree National Monument is full of these rock formations that are, if you haven't seen Joshua Tree, I'm not sure you can die, because you have to have been to Joshua Tree before you die just to experience this place. And there's certain places that I think are musts on the bucket list of wildernesses. But you'll see that if you go to the ocean and you didn't even get in it, but you hung out with an expansive horizontal place, I don't know what it is about it, but your whole system just chills. And you'll notice that cities line coasts, and it's not just because, it's access to the world to be near a coast, because today you have full access from Chicago to the world without a coast. But people tend towards coastlines. There's something about horizontal that's the moderator, and you'll notice that the time we get our deepest rest is when we're horizontal. Horizontal is, we put our own bodies horizontal, or being horizontal on the beach there's something about that. And the word midbar is the word in Hebrew for wilderness. And what it means really what midbar really means is it's where there's as little influence as possible. Midbar really means ultimately minimized influence. And it's funny, coming off last week's Parsha, which was, before it even talked about the death penalty for idolatry, it first gave a death penalty for influencers. And it's very interesting that Torah goes out of its way to start with influencers before it went to the punishment for the idolatry. So apparently God has it in for influencers, meaning if you're an influencer for good. So I imagine God's pretty cool with you. But if you're an influencer and you're influencing people away from good, so now obviously there's no influencer who doesn't think he's influencing for the good. Everyone thinks they're influencing for the good, which brings up the whole subject again: what's good and what's bad, and then we're back in that whole discussion. But just to not have that discussion, let's just suffice to say that when you have, let's say, a pyramid of priority, where you're going to sacrifice lower to get to a higher point of a pyramid. So if you don't put God at the top, and it's kind of cool that the ancient world had a seeing eye at the top. Because what is God if not a seeing eye? If you don't put God at the top, God is just good with missing one of the O's, If you don't put God at the top, then things get dicey. Things get real dicey. Take God off the top, things get dicey. And I don't think there was ever a civilization that lived very long after God was knocked off the top. And just as a fair warning, you can YouTube this, but it's pretty cool. And I don't know if it's 100% true, but you can YouTube this one, is that when you take God off the top now, so now you no longer have a unified, objective good. So what happens is good gets very subjective and very disunified and factional in what's going to be called good. And then it's just a matter of time until there's a full breakdown. And the thing that makes it worse, the thing that really, really messes up a society is when things get all jumbled like that. Because God got taken off the top. There's no more tip to the pyramid. Get rid of that. The things get so jumbled, but there's an ingredient that's one of the most beautiful things in the world. And in fact, it's for you, it's oxygen itself. That if you add it to the equation, I mean, you add something as healthy as what I'm about to tell you. If you add this to the equation, then things go south quick. And you know what that is? You're not going to believe what it is. It's called acceptance, which is your deepest need. Your deepest need is to be accepted. No, it's not really your deepest need. Your deepest need is to be loved. But who are the people you love? When they accept you. So acceptance is like a super, super high value. If you don't have it in your household, your kids for sure will sour. You know, you might wind up with good kids, but they're dead inside because they were too busy trying to earn acceptance because there was no unconditional acceptance. It was, you know, it was acceptance like a gun over your head acceptance. We'll accept you if you behave, you know. And so those homes, like either a kid will spin out and go find a place where he's accepted at some 7-Eleven parking lot, or you'll get instead good kids who are dead inside because they don't have their deepest need met, which is unconditional acceptance, which leads to love. Because the only people I would ever feel loved from, the only possibility of feeling love from someone is that they accept you for who you are. That's the only way you could ever feel love from someone. Anyway, but check this out. When you take God off the top and then you inject acceptance as the main value, like we're going to make acceptance the main value. So what happens is that standards for approval get pushed out. Standards for approval get pushed out. Think about it. If I have to accept you, no matter what, so then I likely will I'll have to say that what you're up to doesn't matter anymore. You understand? Oh, gosh, I mixed this up for you guys. Let me make it super clear, okay? You have something called approval, and then you have something called acceptance. They're two very separate subjects. Approval is standards of behavior, stuff you do. So, for example, would you guys approve of me not making a blessing over this water? I already made a blessing before we started today, but would you approve of that? No. Would you accept me if I didn't? Yeah. So do you see that two separate things? You'd accept me as a human being for having not done that, but you wouldn't approve of it. Is that clear? So people have approval and acceptance blurred. They have them blurred. So they wind up only accepting people they approve of. You either follow my standards or you're out. Where that's approval and acceptance blurred together. Or you are following my standards or you're out. Now, does that feel safe or dangerous? It's very dangerous. And how are you supposed to know my standards? It's not like anyone interviewed me. I mean, how are you supposed to know my standards? Yet most people only accept the people they approve of. Most people only accept those they approve of. In other words, they have acceptance and approval blurred, and they only accept those they approve of. This is why when I meet someone, like I'll meet someone at some party, I'll be in LA this week, so later this week I'll be in LA, and I'll meet someone at a party and they'll be like apologizing for their existence, you know, because they're meeting this Jew with the payas and the kippah and the beard, and Like, and the guy's like, I'm a really bad Jew, Rabbi. You have to understand. I'm just like, you haven't even told me your name yet. And this was not like some kind of test of, and we're at a cocktail party, for heaven's sakes. Like, what does you happen to be you happen thinking you're a bad Jew have to do with this? You know, I'm just came here to enjoy myself. You know, but you understand that what he's really saying is, I feel like such a goy in front of you. Meaning you clearly would not accept me for my behavior. You wouldn't accept me because you wouldn't approve. So they get blurred. But let's look at it the other way. Most of us only accept the people we approve of, which is a terrible thing, and makes you, frankly, dangerous. You know, I'm not going to feel safe with you if that's the case. And the other is that you can go the other way. What's the other way? Is since acceptance is the highest good, and that's like the USA. The USA is the United States of acceptance. Think about it. That's what it is. I mean, just go to Brooklyn. Drive around Brooklyn. You'll drive from community to community to community, and a lot of those neighboring communities have been at war for ages in their original countries. But put them in the United States of acceptance, they live side by side for generations. Nothing ever happened. It's the United States of acceptance, the melting pot, where you take warring factions throughout the planet, you bring them to America, and everyone just gets along. They made acceptance the highest value, meaning they took God off the top, and they put acceptance as the top. But they have the opposite issue, is not only do I accept everyone, but I also have to what? I have to approve of everyone. Because if you put acceptance as the highest good, and you don't understand the distinction between acceptance and approval, you don't understand that distinction. So then what happens is you wind up with a society that there's no such thing as standards for approval anymore. I'm okay, you're okay. Everybody just do whatever you want. Hell's bells. And just go for it. And so that society, as it breaks down, and what do I mean by breaks down? The standards of behavior are no longer considered important necessarily. People are, meaning that just the whole society loses its standards. It loses its own self-respect. And it's like, the 1960s was a big part of this. I think that the psychedelic era was a period of time. I mean, the late 60s was a time where I think under the influence of psychedelics in that period, that there was a loss of distinction at all. Like you and I, like we're all one, which is true. Meaning it's a very Torah precept that everything's really one. But Torah, everything's one, and then there's all these distinctions, whereas the 1960s weren't being guided by Torah. You can go to ancient villages, meaning communities all over the jungles of the world, like Aboriginal communities that are where psychedelic medicines that show you the oneness are in the bedrock of their religion, of that Aboriginal community in the jungle there. And yet they have very fine lines in their societal structure, in their way of doing things, and what the men do and what the women do, and what your position is in the community. Things are clearly distinguished. So basically the psychedelic era of the U.S., which was the late 60s and throughout the 70s, was bringing psychedelics to the United States of acceptance was a bad recipe. It was a bad recipe. And then what happened was acceptance and approval getting blurred. So since I have to accept everyone, and we're all one anyway, so therefore I have to approve of everyone, and therefore there's no more standards. There's no more, after a while, there's no more right and wrong. Well, you can get so blurred out with the oneness of it all that there's no more binary nature. You understand that what is binary? Binary means that there's two. And unity means there's one. And interestingly, the whole Torah, which is the blueprint of our creation, God literally is creating this world through a blueprint. Meaning, like an overhead projector is constantly active. When you're in a classroom and there's an overhead projector, that transparency, which is creating the image on the screen, is at all times actively doing that. So the Torah is the blueprint of creation. It's the overhead projector transparency that's been placed, and it's moving all the time. It's alive, But the Torah begins with a bet, with the letter bet, aleph bet, B. Aleph bet. It begins with a 2. And the 2, if you look at the shape of a bet, okay, the bet going this way has its back turned to the aleph. And God's called the aleph. He's the alufo shel olam. He's the one within all the many. Because all the many in the whole world of this digital, we're inside this, digital, what's the right word? It's a 3-syllable word. Simulation. Simulation, for example. In this digital simulation, it's all made of vibration, and one is the common denominator of all vibration. So if you play your A string on your guitar, that's 440 ones, and Hashem is the one within all of it. And now when you get married, so now it's 2. Just like creation, it's 2. But 2 that become 1, which is, the goal of everything. When you hear music playing, it's, multiple vibrations in the chord. But the spiritually wise hear Hashem in the music at all times. You're always hearing Hashem in the music. And anyway, but just going back to that when you go non-binary, meaning when you want to say everything's really one and there's no 2, even though the entire creation is binary, meaning the second you have multiplicity, you're in binary realm. This is why when we say Shema, when we talk about the oneness, we close our eyes and then we cover our eyes. Everyone try that. Close your eyes just regular without your hand. You still see some light. And now cover your eyes with your hand tight. And by the way, this is how you should say Shema, tight. And you'll see it just becomes one. You can open your eyes. And that one is nothing. Because before there was something, what was there? Nothing. If you're a Big Banger, before the Big Bang, there was nothing. If you're a Genesiser, before heaven and earth, there was nothing. Well, how much of nothing can there be other than one? There's only one nothing. If you divide it by 3, you get nothing. If you multiply it by 3, you get nothing. It's absolute, total oneness. And it's the truth, but he created this world with multiplicity. It's a binary world. And the Torah teaches us all its distinctions. And the Torah is distinguishing the world for us, just like the Aboriginal cultures have great distinction. They understand the oneness because they're tripping on ayahuasca or whatever they're taking over there, the mushrooms of Mexico or something. They know all about the oneness. But but they have deep traditions of the standards of behavior, of the distinctions of wrong and right, and good and bad, and Judaism has that. We don't need the psychedelics because we have prophecy, and prophecy makes LSD look like vitamin C. Prophecy's beyond, if psychedelics are a if they are a taste of tripping, a taste of if psychedelics are a taste of prophecy, it's a very small taste, because the 99% of people can do a psychedelic and come back normal. Obviously, people should be aware of their family history and their own psychological makeup before they get involved in such things. But but if any of us got even a light, meaning us in this room, myself included, if any of us got even a light prophetic moment right now, like if you just suddenly got just a little prophetic moment right now, I don't mean a little one, but like a real prophecy. Like you got a real prophetic moment right now, you probably wouldn't be able to continue your life as a normal person. You wouldn't be able to come back from that very well. And I know everyone feels like they're pretty solid citizens in here, but I don't want to scare anybody, but we're way more shaky than we realize. We're way more shaky. Well, I think since maybe after Corona, after COVID-19, I think everyone realizes how shaky they are. Yeah, would you guys say you're a little more sober? I'm pretty shaky. You're pretty shaky. Is there anyone here who doesn't realize how shaky they are? You realize that? But before Corona, I thought I was absolutely unstoppable. It was until I broke a tooth, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, did I break a tooth? Like, did I just break a tooth? What is that? And so I went to the dentist. I'm like, I broke my tooth. He was like, yeah, man, you're clenching your teeth. I'm like, clenching my teeth? Since when? I'm the most chill guy there is. He's like, have you been following news like during Corona, like during COVID? Have you been following the news? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely following the news. And he's like, why don't you stop watching the news for about a month and see if you're still clenching your teeth? So I stopped watching the news, and I stopped clenching my teeth. But that was one of the indicators of how shaky I am, And I was definitely considered a pretty solid citizen, and I still am, but I'm much more humble now, and realizing that we're just shaky, And since the war, things are getting more shaky, and whatever. This is the time in our lives where we have to laser beam onto Hashem. Like, I don't know what you guys are up to in your lives, but you got to laser beam yourself onto Hashem. You got to laser beam into Hashem totally right now. And it's really important that you do that. The flying squirrels. You guys ever heard of flying squirrels? It's fun to watch them on YouTube, but they take off and just jump from tree to tree, and they have their arms are kind of webbed into these wings, and so some guy did something that I'm sure animal activists wouldn't have been so excited about. But you know what he did? He took a seesaw thing and just banged this side with the flying squirrel on this side, and just shot the squirrel off, bang, and the squirrel's just like, bah, you know, because he's in full spin mode. You know, definitely going to have a crash landing, but doesn't. He lands on his feet each time. Anyway, but what he did was he slow-moed it. He put it on full slow-mo video, and to see how does this thing flying head over heels the whole time land on his feet each time. And so by putting in slow-mo, it's very clear what he does. The second he shoots up, it instinctually chooses a landing place based on, I guess, the trajectory. Chooses a landing place, and while his body's doing all the spinning, his head makes his body pivot around it. His head doesn't move. His eyes are on the spot till he lands. I think everyone just here got the reason why I'm discussing flying squirrels. You have to be a flying squirrel, meaning you're going to be sent head over heels all over the place, most likely. All of us are. We already have been, and it's going to probably be getting worse before it's going to be getting better. And who knows what's in store next? I mean, it's seriously crazy, you know, like, you know, I mean, what if the U.S. has a civil war? Do you realize what could that? You realize the world as we know it is over? And people are like more and more starting to wonder about that, you know, and please God, it won't happen, you know. Let's hope that the great United States of America can somehow make it through these crazy times. But if it did, you better have your eye on the target. And I can't tell you how awesome it is. I feel like since Corona, since COVID, my eye on the target is, the target's Hashem, but there's another aspect of it, and this will sound maybe crazy to some people, but Israel is the refuge city. Israel's the refuge city. I know it didn't seem very safe on October 7th, but God is in control, and God is, you know, it was a miracle. Like, the Hamas's victory on October 7th was an absolute, made zero sense militarily, that they were able to like ride through on cruiser bicycles, you know, like, and do what they did. So it was clearly God's hand. October 8th was the next news, which was the news that the whole world hates the Jews, just like World War II, Holocaust. Like, were they all waiting this whole time to let us know that? Or how much longer was the world going to pretend that, and not how much longer were the Jews going to pretend that we're actually loved and cherished by our society? But like October 7th was the first crazy miracle. And normally miracles are good things, but this was a miracle, bad thing. But that happened. October 8th began the world feeling no longer bashful about their hatred towards good. And then the whatever ever since these times, every time I'm on an airplane back to Israel, I don't know what it is. I just keep thinking that, like, there's only so many more of these trips I'm going to be making, and there's only so much more time left. It just feels suddenly like a time, like there's a countdown. And by the way, you can throw this in the wastebasket if you want. But other people have this feeling too. I don't know if you guys have this feeling. You know? You have that feeling? Yeah. You have that feeling? No? You have that feeling? You? You feel that? You should. You don't feel it? Okay, so. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I have my family, my friends, I have all the people working with me in my organization, and the possible you, and all these branches of, and all these students, and I love everybody, you know, like all these people out there. But I don't know, there's something about Israel. even though I'm far from, I don't consider the Jewish leadership of like the Israel leadership. I don't consider them leadership. But nevertheless, I like the fact that if there was something existential, like if we were in an existential situation, that our existence was on the line, that they could, do something about it. Whereas if we're in an existential threat outside of Israel, we're completely at the mercy of the kindness of a government that you hope likes us. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm sounding too Zionistic right now. That I like the fact that there's a military system set up for existential threat. But I think it's basic math. I mean, if you have an existential threat as a Jew and you have a government that's also Jewish, who feel the existential threat and are willing to do whatever it would take to protect you from losing your existence. So I guess it's basic math to feel more safe here. Of course, whenever I speak this way, people say, well, what about October 7th? They didn't do a very good job on that day. But my answer would just be that day just doesn't make any sense. That was just the next level of the hysteria or anxiety of this period that clearly is about to give birth to something. Like we're in the middle of a birth process, so something's being born right now, and we're in that process. We're in a process of some kind of birth. We don't even know what it is, and that's why I'm saying we got to keep our eye on there. We got to be the flying squirrel that while you're getting rocked, you keep your eye on the target. All of this for us, let's make this our preparation for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. This should be part of our preparation because Monday night begins the Rosh Chodesh Elul, which begins our 40-day count to Yom Kippur. So I think all of us should have that in mind. And also, I'd just like to suggest to everybody, because tomorrow night begins this 40-day count, that I think it would behoove us to, whatever it is that makes you feel guilty, like on a daily or let's say once a week or whatever's going on with you that's not building you, but it's actually breaking you down, whatever could be possibly breaking you right now, choose one thing that's not so hard and just take on that for the next 40 days. You're not going to do it as of tomorrow night. Like take one thing and get rid of it. So I got rid of mine. Mine is going to be using technology for entertainment. Using technology for entertainment. Meaning I'll use it for learning, I don't mind getting news. And I think the professional surfing tour will be surfing in Southern California, so I'll probably watch a few of those heats because that's my sport. But yeah, not, if it's entertainment, it's out. And I'd like to see what I do with my time that is no longer wasted, and it's mostly really just my sleep, because affording yourself some entertainment at the end of the night can wind up being much longer than you would have anticipated, and you probably would have fallen asleep much quicker without it. So, and then there's, that's the losase, meaning that's what you should take on, one thing that you're going to stop doing, one thing that's hurting you, and take on one thing that's going to help. So I already took on my one thing, and all it was just some additional study, but very specific Torah study I think will keep me more on target in my life. So Anyway, but I think everyone should spend the next 24 hours thinking of what they would like to stop and what they'd like to do. They'd like to stop doing and what they'd like to start doing. And then do that for 40 days. And the reason why, one of the incentives of why to do that is because you don't want Rosh Hashanah to just like slam into you unexpectedly. So it's, those are 2 heavy days. They're also the most important days of the year. So we have the 2 most important days of the year coming up, which is Rosh Hashanah, which is 2 days. And that, if you stop doing something that's scattering you and you start doing something that's focusing you, I think you'll find that that little thing you stopped doing and that little thing you started doing will have sensitized you to be involved in all kinds of other stuff, so that when Rosh Hashanah comes, you'll be highly sensitized to have the ultimate Rosh Hashanah. What I'm saying is that the thing you're doing that's scattering you and the thing that you're not doing that would be focusing you is causing you to miss all kinds of other really cool things because you're a little spacey. You understand what I'm saying? You're a little spaced out. And so by accepting upon yourself something you're going to stop doing and something you aren't going to do, that you're going to be more tuned in now. And by being tuned in, you're going to get tuned into all kinds of amazing stuff. And then God will send you your messengers, and you'll have some awakenings. And I'm in a lot of topics at once, as usual. Does anyone have any questions on anything I've said at this point? Questions? Yeah.
I wanted to ask if earlier when you were speaking about acceptance, would you differentiate between love and acceptance, and if yes, how?
So I consider love is a function of acceptance, but love is really. Let's just play it together right now. So, do you mind being online with me?
I'm with you.
No, but like in camera?
Sure.
Coming real tight, because I don't know the frame. More even. Everyone, this is my friend Ben Sion. So, I don't know what you've been up to as far as your behavior, and you don't know what I've been up to either, for that matter. And don't let looks fool you, but I'm generally being good. But lean in a bit in case, because I don't know the camera. Yeah, you're good. So, anyway, whatever it is you were up to, I don't care. Whatever that was. Because inside of you is your being. Like you sense for a moment what you're doing is sitting, but there's a being inside of you that is vivifying your body. It's giving life to you. That's right. Your being. And everyone get that you have a being. Okay? And that being is untouchable. There's nothing you can do to mess with that being. That being's always there. It's like the sun, if it's a cloudy day, if it's a sunny day, if it's a foggy day, it doesn't affect the sun. You understand that these are all. So anyway, you have a being, and that's your true self. And interestingly, whether I accept it or not is almost irrelevant. It just is, whether I accept it or not. But you knowing that it's your being that I'm relating to, and it's your actions that are not at all my focus, at all. Like I have no focus on your actions. If you were to come to me and say, I've been up to this, that, and the other, what do? I would give you advice. I would say, yeah, you're right, that's probably going to be harmful. and scatter you out. So let me help you. So but your being is untouchable. Okay? Now this doesn't necessarily mean I like you or love you. You'll probably like me. You'll probably love me even. I mean, if
Perfect acceptance.
yeah, you'll be like, hey, this guy gets me, and it's like,
Because most people don't do that.
right, this guy gets me, he's good with me, and I really love him. But you understand, my accepting you doesn't necessarily mean I love you. Well, what would it be? What would love be?
Right, so that's what I was asking, because in terms of kids, oftentimes I think that's the biggest issue. I'm not a parent, but
Is that the parents looking for their kid to behave certain ways to get the
they
love?
withhold love.
Mm.
And it's similar to acceptance in the way you were talking about acceptance earlier.
Right. But what would it be to love you or for you to love me? So you might love me because I am accepting you fully. But it doesn't necessarily mean I'm loving you.
Okay.
So what it would mean for me to love you would be we got ourselves in a bit of a spot right now. Let me explain why. Because there's two things in this entire planet that have no definition. These two things have no definition, and people don't know this. And I even saw who I consider one of the smartest people alive, which is Jordan Peterson, absolutely fumble the ball for like 45 minutes, maybe even an hour, where he decided he was going to explain love. Because normally you just throw a subject at him, and he's just great at riffing on it. And he'll riff his way to like explain that subject like nobody else. So there's a video out there. I wish I had downloaded it or something so I could show it to you, but I wouldn't know how to find it. He had thought, hey, I'll just riff on love. And he tried to riff on it, and he just completely missed it. And it's not like he doesn't love his wife or his kids. And it's not like he doesn't have love. He does have love, and he has strong love. But he tried to define it. You know what the other thing that has no definition?
God.
The other one? Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I think love is the recognition.
Oh, to decide. Yeah. Oh, one sec. Before you do that, I'd like to hear it. And Rav Noach Weinberg also has a definition, which I don't necessarily agree with. But what's the other thing that has no definition? Excellent. God. God has no definition. Think about it. If something has definition, so you're saying it's this and not that. This bottle has a definition. This microphone has a definition. This ends here, that begins there, and they're like, they don't touch. They have edges. What is definition? It's when you define what it is and what it's not, obviously. Well, try that with God. What can you say God is that he's not? What can you say he's not that he is?
Hippies define one with the other. God is love and love is God. You know?
Well, that's the thing, is love has no definition. God has no definition. And I think that it's very somehow meant to be. And the word for one is love in Hebrew. The word one is echad, which equals 13, and the word for love is echad. And if you double the word, because there's, in the binary nature, like there's God and us, or there's you and your spouse, or you and your kids, or me and Ben Sion, when you double the love with two people, two lovers, that's meaning like God for you, it equals 26. And 26 is the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey equal 26, which is also interesting. Because that's the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, the four-letter name of God has two parts. It's the upper. Yud and the Hey is the upper, and the Vav and the Hey is the lower. The binary world is the Vav and the Hey, and the united world is the Yud and the Hey. That's why it says Bayom Hahu, and it will be when God finally gets dominion over this crazy place. V'haya Hashem l'melech al kol haaretz. Hashem's going to become the melech. He's going to be the melech of the whole haaretz. Bayom Hahu, on that day, yeah, Hashem Echad, that which is above one, Ushmo Echad, in his name, in the binary, the word, once you're in the world of names, this whole world's made of the names. And the names is totally binary. I mean, it's like, because he's creating each thing, mineral, vegetable, animal, human, like, in all the vibrational things happening, like the A string or the lights in this room, or it's all one. And there will be a time where we go back to the pre-fruit of Garden of Eden and go back to oneness. We will be back there. And God has 216 years left to get us back there, because we know that this whole system's only 6,000. We're on a 6,000. You know, there's like 6 days and then there's Shabbos, 6 years and then there's sabbatical year. There's 6 counts of, or 7 counts of, the Yovel is 7 sevens, and then there's the 50th year, the Jubilee. And this world is 6,000, and then and then we move into a world that's the 7,000th year crazy transformation. And the third temple and Mashiach and us being able to see through this whole thing has to happen before that. Yeah. Coming to a Temple Mount near you. Now, and yeah, your definition of love.
I'm just going to try it. So,
Don't try too long. It gets painful after a while. Go ahead.
okay, so love is the recognition of sameness in another, and with judgment, and the recognition of differences in another without judgment.
I hear, yeah. And Rav Noach Weinberg was appreciating the virtues of a person and then seeing the person as those virtues, which is deep and special, because your virtues are not you. But the thing is that since your virtues aren't you, meaning I might be very kind, but I'm not kind. It's not what I am. You know, you put me in an MRI, you get back to the being. I can act with kindness, but I am not those virtues. I'm not that virtue. I'm this being, this deep, deep part of God. And God himself is not one with his virtues, so why would we be? You know, God chooses kindness, but he also chooses wrath. Which one is he? Neither. Those are chosen interactions with creation, of how he interacts. His essence is way beyond virtue. Anyway.
So we're in a pickle.
Yeah, so I can't really define the feeling of love. And there's a very natural love for your own children. And then there's the love you have to work on. For example, you and I could only really have love if we would invest in the relationship. Whereas siblings, like, how many of us have siblings that we absolutely love and we're not investing at all? And they love us, and we're just totally uninvested. And we all owe major phone calls to them, you know, to schmooze it out a bit. We haven't been investing, but the love is 100% there. Spouse, got back to invest. If you don't invest with your spouse, the love fades away. Day after day, the love turns gray, like the skin on the dying man. It's a Pink Floyd song. And so it's not so clear. I think all we can do is figure out if we love someone, but not if they love us. So much for our chavrusa.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I feel like we almost got somewhere.
We almost did. The I can give you a few tips, though, if you'd like to be loved. Meaning, again, you can only figure out if you love somebody. But not if somebody loves you so much. It's a little harder to do that. But there's tips for being loved. And one of the main tips is share as much about yourself as possible with people. I mean, obviously, don't be a weirdo. And, what's it called? TMI? Too much information? Yeah. So what I meant wasn't share as much information as possible, but share as much information as is appropriate. Give someone something to hold on to so they can love you. If you don't show them any contours, if you're just sheet glass, you will never be loved. Because who do they love? Yeah, they know nothing. So if you're gonna be a closed book, well, you'll be alone. Yeah.
So if you don't know, if you can't tell if somebody loves you when you're feeling love, is that just a projection of the love you have for yourself?
Yeah, it might be a bit of that projection, because if I love you because you accept me, so it's me I love. And really, my love for you isn't so much love for you; it's that I'm safe with you, and we're calling it love. You understand? My love for you is that I'm safe with you, and we're calling it love. Which brings back the subject of share a lot of yourself with people, so they do have what to hold on to. You need love handles. No, I always see it as rock climbing. You know, you've been to those climbing gyms? And you got all these shapes that you put your hands on. And I did some climbing in the desert this week, which we are going to finish with the desert, with the wilderness. But you have to give people love handles by showing them the contours of yourself. And that really brings a lot of love. If you, acceptance is probably the best thing you can do, is to have a vibration of acceptance, that people feel truly accepted by you. That's going to have a really big impact on you being loved. Sharing yourself is the other big one, which I already spoke about, is give people love handles. And then, we've talked about it before, but the only way you'll ever share yourself is by trusting people. And definitely trust people. Trust people. The more you're trusted with, the less likely you're going to break that trust. If I handed you $100 and asked you to deposit it in the bank, and I didn't know who you were, but I need the $100 deposited, you'd likely deposit it. But if I handed you $10,000, you'd definitely deposit it. Because it's like 10,000 times the amount of trust was given to you, and it feels amazing to be a trusted individual. And so we're all mixed up when it comes to trust, but the more you give someone, the more they actually will guard it. It's not it's human thinking like, I should give up as little of myself as possible because I don't get screwed. No. That's not right. All that does is make people wonder how trustworthy you are, because if you're that protective, maybe you're not so straight, because you're probably seeing people the way you see yourself or something. And just like you're not trusting, you're probably not so trustworthy. But by sharing much more of yourself and showing people that trust, they're gonna hold that very dear to themselves.
You said in terms of dating, you stressed an element of mystery when we spoke about it the other day. So I want to know, it's something that's been on my mind a lot, the balance between the openness but the mystery.
Oh, that's funny. So when dating, you want to you want to date as little as possible and come to a decision about the person. what you don't know about the person is the mystery that becomes the fantasy that it's probably amazing. And when you get to know somebody, and you're not married to them, well, you start to get to know also all the liabilities of marrying this person. So you know all the good stuff, you know all the liabilities, but it gets a lot harder to ask someone to marry you once you see the liabilities. When there's no more mystery, there's no more fantasy. So I hear your question. So the way you deal with that is just by minimal dating. 4 dates. The fourth date's also very important not to touch. Very important, no physical contact. And also, no dating for companionship. No dating for companionship. Make it real clear. I'm not looking for a companion. Not looking for a girlfriend or boyfriend that leads to marriage. None of that. I'm not trying to fulfill some loneliness inside of me to have a companion in my life. That's not how you date. It's not how you date for marriage, anyway. There's something about a person who's only dating for marriage. It tends to just siphon off everyone they should not be dating. And then, because after a while it becomes known that this guy's only dating people that he might marry, not someone he might go out with for half a year or 9 months or a year or 2 or 3 even. And what happens is every person who would have been that girlfriend or boyfriend for those 9 months or 2 years or whatever is automatically not on their list of people they would date. And so they self-remove themselves. They self-reject. They are now what's it called in Darwinian when something gets selected out?
Natural selection.
Yeah, they're naturally selected out because this person only wants a wife, or this person only wants a husband. And so it gets rid of all the people who aren't serious. And another important thing is to not show money, looks, or body parts. Don't show money, looks, or body parts.
You mean by looks?
Looks, don't, if you really love designer clothing, don't let that person see it, Like when you date that person, go with your plain label stuff or whatever. I had a friend in L.A. who had a really hot Mercedes, like an incredible Mercedes, like a real race car of a Mercedes. And he also had, like a 30-year-old, like, piece of garbage 4-door sedan, like, it was like a Mazda from like 1980 or something. I mean, it was a miracle the thing actually drove, and he took all his dates out in that. And now he's married 45 years. With a big fat house, and she drives a nice Mercedes, and he drives a nice Mercedes, and they're really a beautiful couple, like a really beautiful couple. And because think about it, anyone you attract into your life based on anything other than who you are, it means that they don't love you for who you are. They love what you're presenting. So by not presenting stuff that's attractive, which includes wealth, body parts, or how you dress, fashion, stuff like that. By not presenting, now obviously you should shower, use soap, shampoo, deodorant, whatever you need, and you should look put together. But definitely get rid of all low mood clothing. Like never wear low mood clothing. If you own low mood clothing, do you have low mood clothing? Low mood clothing is like there's stuff you wear when you're feeling good, and there's stuff you've somehow bought certain. It's like hoodies. Like a hoodie is like a low mood clothing object. Not for everybody, but for many people, the hoodie is what you put on when you're like, sweatpants and a hoodie, and that's how you're gonna roll that day. So get rid of those. Just don't even have them in your dresser. Give them away. And so that way, when you're in that down state, like this morning, I think I woke up lower than I have in a month or two, maybe. But I did the proper things that you're supposed to do in a low mood. One, get all the jobs done you got to do. So I was busy this morning with everything I had to do. Two, get yourself out of your home. So you're around people who know you when you're not in that low state. Because they're going to interact with you from a different place, and you'll just kind of fall into that interaction, which is exactly what happened when I got in here. Till I got in here, I had no idea what was going to happen. And I mean, you can see I'm very low energy today, and three is what's three? Oh, dress for success. So because I'm part, what'd you say? Culture. Yeah, I did that too. But the dress for success. So because I'm part of the Haredi community, we have only one outfit available anyway. I mean, and if it's Shabbos, you look like this crazy guy in your shtreimel and you just look like something to reckon with. And what's that? Yeah, you should wear your shidduch date outfit for when you're in a low mood. But yeah, definitely don't have clothing available to you that's not, very put together clothing. Why? Because in those days where you're not doing so hot, you don't have an outfit to go to. You're gonna have to look put together. But the trick is that if you ever wake up in a low mood and you are a kind of person who has multiple outfits, wear your finest outfit in the low mood. Like dress like you're on your way to a wedding or something. But that's the day to dress nice. And what happens? You leave, get out of your house. That's the key. Get out of your house. Be around people. Everyone's going to look at you, and you just automatically start. People are interacting with you as if you're someone to reckon with, when you're really feeling like something that, stuck to the floor. Mm-hmm. And it will affect you throughout the day. And then the fourth thing I would offer is kindness. Kindness is, you're such a lost cause today. So you might as well, meaning you have no life, so you might as well work on other people's lives. So that's a good day to offer assistance. That should be a day of assistance when you're in a low mood. Like, what can you do for other people? Because there's not much you can do for yourself. And the most important thing, the fifth thing I'll tell you, the most important thing in a low mood is to not analyze problems. In a low mood, you have what's called an NAD, a non-analysis day. NAD, try that term, everybody. NAD? NAD is a non-analysis day. That if you ever find yourself in a low mood, you have what's called a non-analysis day, which means that every negative thing you think of throughout the day, you let it just scroll by like some kind of digital news story. Don't click on it. Don't click on any story to get the full analysis. You just let it scroll by. And it'll be a terrible day, but much better to have a terrible day than a terrible month because you're clicking on everything. Don't click. And if you follow all 5 of those, by the way, it's important to note, if you follow all 5 of those pieces of advice, should we review them real quick? Well, I'll tell you the promise. If you follow all 5, I promise you that your low mood will end in 24 hours. 24 hours. So what do you want, 24-hour hard day or 24 weeks? So the 5 things were dress for success, get out of the house. What? Kindness for others. Do your list of all the stuff you usually avoid doing. That's the day to get everything done. And the 5th was NAD, non-analysis day. And I'll just add that getting out of your house means being around people. And they'll just automatically project into you who they know you to be. Or if they don't know you, at least if you're wearing your finest, they'll give you that kind of nod of like, hey, you're an actual, you're a self-respecting human being here. And again, get rid of don't even have those clothes available that don't put you in that state in the eyes of others. And regarding dating is a few dates, get to know each other a bit. Not so much long, not these long dates, not like hours and hours and hours, but a couple hours, finish the date. Ideally, you would have a go-between, because if you want to stop dating, if you want to stop dating, a lot of people keep dating because they don't want to hurt somebody, but if you have a go-between, the go-between handles that. So it's like you're not hurting them directly. And then one thing you have to do is on the 4th date, you have to tell them if something's seriously wrong. So 3 dates, getting to know you, and the 4th date is you got that 3 dates getting to know you. 4th date is you have to let them know if something's really wrong.
With you or with them?
With you. Meaning, whatever, someone has they're terminally ill or something, and they have 10 years left. So, their father's in a state penitentiary on 30 life sentences, I mean, that's something they're taking on by marrying you. But you don't have to tell them that till the 4th date. But 4th date, you got to spill the beans if there's something that's a potential deal breaker. 4th date. Anyway, if anyone wants to really get married, then I have a video called the 6. It's called Happy, HAPPEY, because it's 6 steps. So I added an E. It's the 6 steps for expediting getting married, and you can look that up online. It's on Torah Anytime. It's on YouTube. The 6 steps for getting married. Just to finish with the wilderness is a place that doesn't have people, no influencers in the wilderness. So when you're not getting influence, what's left is your own voice. And the word for the wilderness, where there are no people, is midbar. And the word midbar is the word midaber. Midaber, not midabrim, it's midaber. It's you're hearing your voice. And you'll notice that all the prophets were shepherds. So they were hearing their voice. They were getting connected to their essence. You're not being influenced out there. And where you're not being influenced, your voice is getting stronger. And eventually your voice can be so strong and you can be so aligned with Hashem, you could get prophecy. Today we don't have prophecy, but maybe you get some form of it. The wilderness is where you get your voice. It's where you find your voice. And it was very noticeable that we were not seeing a lot of people out there. This last week when we were out there, we were really out there alone. And when we came back, we hit a traffic jam on its way to Jerusalem. Thousands and thousands of cars were on the one highway. I was so excited to see all these people coming to Jerusalem. I was actually very happy. And it was 2 hours out of the desert, and like another hour instead of 20 minutes. It should have been 20 minutes, but it was another hour in traffic. And my wife's like, all these people. And I was like, all these people on their way to Jerusalem, it's like, she caught my vibe really quickly, and thank God, all these people. But it was a shocker to go that way. to go from no influencers to everyone influencing. Anyway, but we all need to spend some time in the wilderness. We all need to spend that time. And I'll finish with a song my brother wrote when he was 12. And this was actually the tablecloths. The tablecloths was sheet music at his bar mitzvah. Yeah, of this song that I'm going to sing you. He's my brother Sam Glaser. He's a virtuoso in composing songs, and he's written more songs than maybe anyone in the history of the world. It's a little weird, and no one really knows that this is happening. But he wakes up every morning. Over the decades, he's 60 now. Over the decades, he's learned how to. When the song comes, they come mostly in his sleep. When the song comes, he learned how to wake himself up, grab an MP3 player, he presses record, and then he says what key it's in, what are all the words, what's the bass line, what's the drum beat, what's the, but it's all the words, the chorus, what's the backup vocals, what's the guitar rhythm guitar thing doing, all the melodies, the bridge. In songs, songs at least used to have bridges. And, after the second verse, there's usually a bridge of some sort, and then there's a third verse and a chorus, and the bridge is there too. And he wakes up every day. Sometimes there's 2-3 songs there. If you do the math. And he unfortunately loses all the Shabbos songs. So the Shabbos songs are lost. But so then he wakes up. He has no memory of any song. He wakes up. He brings his MP3 player into his studio. He has a whole recording business. He has a big, beautiful studio. So he goes into his recording studio. He gets on his piano, hits the computer to get it recorded, and he does the whole song. And then it's just filed away in where does the U.S. government file away everything? I forget the name of it. There's some place where everything's filed away. The cloud. Yeah, the cloud. Anyway, it gets filed away. Maybe it's maybe. Anyway, but it gets filed away and never to be heard, no one will ever hear these songs. There's thousands and thousands and thousands. Every single one is a masterpiece. There's no song that's like a throwaway. Every song, like a random song. So how does it all start? He was 7 years old, and his grade school teacher said everyone should write a poem. So he wrote a poem called Black. No. Oh my gosh. He wrote a song called Alone. A poem called Alone. So my mother's a musician, so she says, let's sit at the piano and make it a song. So she starts playing, and she's got it on the Stender. She starts singing it, and my brother, he's 7 years old, he says, no, Mommy, that's not how it goes. He already knew how it goes, 7 years old. She says, really, how does it go? It's hard to sing without crying, but I'll sing it for you. Alone is when you have some time to spare, but do not have anyone to play with or share. Alone is feeling lonely, having nothing to do, feeling sad or fearful, uncomfortable and blue, while all the people are laughing, really having fun. You feel so embarrassed, you feel you're going to run without any friends till the very end. And my mother was just like, wow. And she pulls another poem. He had other poems. She pulls out a poem called Black. She says, how does this one go? Black is the night without the stars. It is a rocket going to Mars. Black is a bowling ball waiting to ride. Black is also the night. Black is a da-da-da. Black is a da. Black is the surrounding of the stars so bright. And black is your father when he says good night. Black is your father when he says go to bed. And black is the color upon your head. He had black hair. Every single thing was like this. And it's still going today. He's 6 years old. It just keeps going and going and going. So the wilderness. The love the wilderness holds for me, no one else can supply. Just being there makes me happy. I will feel it till I die. The rushing water makes me feel power. The mountains give me pride. I'm relaxed by the wind and flowers. I feel joy deep down inside. The love the wilderness holds for me, no one else can supply. Just being there makes me happy. I will feel it till I die. I will feel it till I die. These songs were so complex. What was going on around them with whole theme intros and outros and crazy. That was 12 years old. Anyway, you can tell I'm pretty excited about my brother Sam. He's a total nut. But if you're ever in LA, definitely give him a ring and he will take you to live music, which he does every night. Shalom, everybody. Slacha, Gutavach. We did it. I somehow made it through this class. Anyway, we got a few more sessions today before I fly, so please God. Thinking of going to Tzfas tomorrow. Rabbi Yosef Kaduner is playing a concert in Tzfas tomorrow night.
Such a humble man. Wow. First time I see him, he gives me a giant hug. Are you famous, or do you just love everybody? As far as
He gave you a hug when you met him.
Humble, calm.
Yeah, he's very chill.
Is there sheer?
Yeah.
Same time?
Wow, Yosef's doing pretty good in 2 days. Nice. Oh my gosh, we're still live over there.
Yes.
What's the name of this class?
Oh gosh. Guys, what would you name this class?
It's
I would
mentioned
call
somewhere.
it,
Power.
Wait, I need someone who knows more about
wilderness.
How do we turn off the live, guys? Okay, it's over there. Is it still going? Yeah, it's still going. Oh, it's a little bit of a lag. Who's high tech here?
I'm not high tech, but I'm like low tech.
I need some help turning it off.
I can try to figure it out.
You guys see?
He's right here.
Excuse me.
Oh, good. I didn't touch it. It's just we're still filming.